With both Cunha and Rodgers suspended for game week 20, it looks like I am going to have to make some transfers this game week. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about my transfer plans and potential targets ahead of game week 20. Now, before we dive into today's video, I just want to say a massive thank you to you guys for 2024. You guys have been absolutely incredible. We started the year with roughly around 3,000 subscribers. We're ending it with 11,000. So thank you very, very much for your continued support on this channel. Big things to come, not only on this channel, but of course on the second channel in 2025. So do keep those eyes peeled for plenty more FPL content and football content on the second channel coming your way very, very soon. First off, let's take a look at how my team is faring so far in game week 19. Of course, there is one more game still to take place. Of course, that is the Arsenal-Brentford game. I do have Raya playing in that one, so hopefully a clean sheet if it does come off, but if not, it isn't the end of the world, given the kind of high ownership amongst the Arsenal back line. But as you can see, a pretty disappointing week so far. 66. Unfortunately, we didn't have Trent Alexander-Arnold. We sold João Pedro 2 weeks ago for Jackson. That one's not really paid off, has it, too much, with, of course, João Pedro picking up 2 assists as well. Thankfully, though, we did get the captaincy decision right. We stuck with Mohamed Salah, so I'm very, very happy with how that is lining up, to be honest. So no real complaints. However, as you can see with the team, there are a few issues starting to crop up over the next few weeks. Of course, Rodgers suspended for that delicious fixture against Leicester next week. That's a little bit of a kick in the nuts. And then, of course, Cunha now receiving his suspension as well. Let me quickly move on to the next slide. Here you go. Cunha now receiving his 2-game suspension. However, it will only impact one Premier League game, with the other one taking part in the FA Cup with their tie in the 3rd round against Bristol City. So it is likely that we are going to have to move Matheus Cunha on. Obviously, I've owned him for quite a while. I've got some really, really good points out of him, all the way pretty much until he became a template pick as well. So some absolutely incredible points out of him. Unfortunately, couldn't deliver in game week 19. However, it does look like we are going to have to replace him this week. And with Rodgers picking up that suspension as well with my team, we are, of course, going to have to make transfers. We do have 2 in hand though, so let's take a look at some of the players I am potentially thinking about picking up this game week. So first off, let's start off with the obvious one. I think Chris Wood from Cunha is a very, very easy and kind of straightforward transfer. There doesn't seem to be any reason that I shouldn't do this move, to be honest. Obviously, the fixtures coming up are pretty good, to be honest. Obviously, the Liverpool game in 21, not ideal. But when we come on to look at how my team's going to be lining up for game week 21, it's not that big of a deal. We've got plenty of other rotating players around that week as well. His stats over the past 5 game weeks have been a little bit disappointing. Obviously, the underlying data isn't exceptional. However, Forest are continuing to do exceptionally well, still continuing to pick up results, still getting goals, still getting wins, and I think Chris Wood is a big part of that. 11 Premier League goals for him this season, and he is usually, when Forest score, the man that is involved with either the goal or an assist. So getting a talisman in the side, it makes complete sense to me. Now, I do think there are a few issues with Chris Wood. I've spoke about them in other videos. Of course, that is being Taiwan Awoniyi is back. He's been coming on around the 75th minute. However, hasn't really been doing too much, so I don't think is going to impact Chris Wood's minutes. Then, of course, we have the fact that Nottingham Forest aren't a prolific attack. They're not one of the top teams that go out and smash people. They're not one of the teams that, of course, goes and puts multiple goals away. That's just not how Nottingham Forest operate. They're more defence-minded focused, rather than, of course, looking at, like, you know, other teams like Brentford, for example, where their focus is completely about attack, or Brighton, or any of these other teams as well. Nottingham Forest is defence first, very similar to Everton, so that does mean that there are less goals going forward. However, penalty taker, fairly decent minutes, good set of fixtures coming up. This one feels like a little bit of a no-brainer to me, so I think we are going to be moving for Chris Wood for Cunha. That's going to be transfer number 1. Of course, like I said, we do have 2 transfers available. This one might not happen this week, but it might happen in future game weeks, and it is something I am considering. It is, of course, the Arsenal defence, doubling up on that Arsenal back line. Of course, as you saw from my team, I do already have David Raya. However, FPL Raptors pointed out this in a few of his videos and on Twitter. Roughly, the Arsenal defence is currently at around 120% effective ownership, meaning that if you just have the one Arsenal defender, you're actually going to be losing rank from them keeping a clean sheet. So, looking at it, we are probably going to need to have 2 or 3 potential Arsenal defenders to get anything out of that back line. And as we can see here, with the 11-5 data coming up over the next 5 game weeks, the projections are looking filthy for those clean sheets. And this is another option, another avenue that we could go down. Obviously, Gabriel is the ideal player I would want. However, if budget is stretching me, of course, I do think Yuri and Timber could also be a fantastic option to double up on with David Raya. However, Gabriel is the one that I want with his good underlying attacking data. The fact that Arsenal are kind of a little bit of a meme at the moment. Of course, they're the Stoke Alona, aren't they, this season, where, you know, they're just playing for the set pieces. They're trying to score from as many corners as possible. Gabriel, of course, has been benefiting massively from that one as well. And like I said, with those good clean sheet numbers coming up over the next few weeks, I think realistically it could be a really, really good scenario to look at that double up. And I think if you've got the money available to switch round to the back line, I definitely think it could be an option that you potentially could go for if you wanted to obviously go for that double up. And like I said, start to actually gain some rank from Arsenal clean sheets. So those are the 2 kind of transfer strategies I am looking at right now. Of course, the role option has been taken away with Rodgers now being suspended for next week. But let's go and take a look at how my team is lining up for Game Week 20 and future game weeks coming up. Now let's take a look at how my team is lining up if we were to make 0 transfers. Obviously, I do feel this could have been a potential option. We could have rolled Taken Free into Game Week 21. However, now with that Rodgers suspension, I do feel like this option has dwindled away a little bit. Of course, as you can see, there are a few problem players that would be playing in this side. Of course, one of those being Bruno Fernandes. Manchester United are absolutely abhorrent, woeful. I can't think of enough kind of negatives to describe their recent performances. Going up against Liverpool, who are looking very, very fluid at the moment. That could be a cricket score, so I don't think Bruno Fernandes probably would get anything out of that game. So I ideally wouldn't want to play him anyway for this fixture. Of course, as you can see as well, we do have Munoz in there as well. I don't mind Munoz playing against Chelsea. Of course, Chelsea in a little bit of, I would say, indifferent form at the moment. Of course, they've lost their last 3 Premier League games as well. Also, we have the problem that Jackson maybe could be a bit of a minutes risk going further forward. We, as you can see, don't really have too much bench cover either as well. If Jackson was to miss out, it means that Greaves would be coming in away at Fulham. And again, I don't really think Ipswich will probably keep a clean sheet there. And again, would I really want to end up with a 5 at the back system? I definitely think not. So I think now, with that Rodgers suspension, it is meaning that we are going to have to use one of our free transfers going into Game Week 20, and then of course taking 2 into Game Week 21. So let's take a look at which player I have decided to go for. So let's take a look at this. Of course, it's going to be Chris Wood. I think that is just the obvious play. I looked at the defenders that I had available for this week, and I thought, realistically, out of Kirkes, Konza and Aina, who would I actually want to drop there for Gabriel away at Brighton? And I was thinking to myself, I was like, I reckon we could probably get away with one more week of no Arsenal like double defence. So we're going to not do that move. Instead, we are going to go for Chris Wood. And I think this team, minus Rodgers, let me quickly swap him out. I didn't just see him in there. Get out of there, Rodgers. There you go. Out you go. So this is how we probably would line up. I am thinking I will probably go Munoz over Bruno Fernandes. However, it is an extremely tight call down to the fact that Bruno Fernandes is a penalty taker and all it takes is a little bit of luck. However, like I spoke about with Chelsea's form being a little bit indifferent, I do feel that Munoz and Crystal Palace might be able to potentially get something out of that game. So it is going to be a 50-50 call whether or not I go Bruno Fernandes, whether or not I go Munoz. However, I think the rest of the team is looking exceptionally strong. Like I said, Kirkes, Konza, Aina, they are looking very, very hot indeed. Of course, that midfield three that we do have right there. And Buemo against Southampton, great. Salah's going to be our captain. The front three looking very, very good going forward as well. Of course, if we move on to future game weeks, let me just shift on to game week 21. As you can see here, when Chris Wood, of course, does play Liverpool, we're all right. We're okay. We've got plenty of options here. And again, I don't really feel like there's a need for us to make any further transfers with this side. Again, maybe it would just be dropping Kirkes down, I think probably one of the transfers I was looking at was maybe somebody like a Timothy Castagna within that position. Let me just quickly put him in. Timothy Castagna. That's a move we could probably make there. He then goes and plays against West Ham. As you can see, the team is looking very, very strong yet again. I don't mind that Brian Mbeumo's got City. I think that Brentford actually could get something out of this game. And if we remember back to 2 seasons ago, Brentford actually beat Manchester City both home and away. Brentford's home record as well is one of the best in the Premier League. I feel very, very confident with that City shaky defence that, again, they could probably get something out of that one. Moving on to game week 22 going forward, as you can see, we probably then would have, of course, the boys back in for this one. And as you can see, the team is still looking pretty good. Of course, there's always the 1 or 2 players that are a little bit of a problem. Again, we probably have a toss-up here whether or not to play Mbeumo or Rodgers. But overall, you're probably getting 10 out of the 11 players with pretty decent fixtures going forward. Of course, just that one anomaly. And if we can get it right, or they could get something out of that game, we could still be in a very, very good position. That, of course, is going to wrap up my transfers targets video. Let me know down in the comment section below who you're potentially looking at. And of course, if you've got any questions about your team, get them in, as I will try to answer as many as I can. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in game week 20.